The views expressed, opinions given, and any communication made between the hosts and guests of What Are You Afraid of Horror and Paranormal Show do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of Para-X Radio, EMC Network, or all services that play this show. The hosts and services are not responsible for the actions of their guests, and the original rights of all intellectual property is retained by the creator, and all work is used with either permission or Creative Commons license. The show is for entertainment purposes only. Episode 100.
100, Fox.
Number 12 on Beat Spot's Top 30 Horror Podcast.
The Witching Hour. Zombies just don't want to die, do they, Phil?
No, they don't.
I know.
That's why they're zombies.
Oh, that's why they're zombies. They keep coming back. God, it's episode 100. Can you believe it?
This is episode 100. This is a milestone episode.
This is the milestone episode. And we're celebrating my favorite part of horror, zombies.
Yeah. You're a huge zombie fan.
I love zombies ever since I was a wee lad.
Yes.
Catching Return of the Living Dead on my little black and white telly. You know, the old chemical zombies. What a great movie that was.
And you know what? Even if you had a color telly, it wouldn't have mattered.
Right. Right, no, it wouldn't have. The gore was wonderful.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, God, episode 100. We're moving in on Halloween. This is our countdown Halloween.
Yeah, this is 3 years.
3 years, that has been.
3 years.
Three Halloweens.
We've been doing this 3 Halloweens. And we hit 100 in October.
We did Halloween in Bethlehem. That was episode number 2.
Right.
And then we did all the Pennhurst stuff, and then Katrina Weidman and Lloyd Kaufman.
Right.
And this year, it's been a lot of fun. We had Andrew Fuller on from the Halloween Baking Championship.
Right.
He was great. I loved Andrew. Hope he's doing well. He got kicked off the show. But, well, they voted him off.
It happens, you know.
Allison and I were watching going, couldn't he just had one more week for promotion?
Just one, come on.
Yeah, but he was great. He was the best guy to talk to because not only was he a baker and on Halloween Baking Championship on Food Network, but he was also a ghost hunter.
Yeah, I know.
So we got some great ghost stories out of him.
Great.
So you having a good October Halloween?
Oh my God, yeah. I actually am. I'm excited because the new Halloween movie comes out in 2 days.
Yes,
I'm
right.
very excited for that.
You're going to be there at the midnight showing or something?
No, I'm not going to go midnight show. I'm going to go. That would be tomorrow night, but I'm going to go Friday.
Good man.
Probably Friday. Yeah.
Good man.
But this is episode 100. Zombies Strike Back.
It is. What Are You Afraid of Horror and Paranormal Show on Parax Radio at Friday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and also on all major podcast services. If we're not on there, they're not good enough for us.
That's right.
Now, I've got one really important question for you, Phil.
Yes, what's
Do you
that?
like my skull team?
I was just looking at that, and I was about to comment on it. I was going to ask you where you got that.
Earl Grey in
Okay.
his tea mug. That's what zombies drink.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's great.
Well, we've got an awesome guest tonight, and I was starting my zombie movie marathon on Amazon Prime, and Amazon Prime has added all these indie zombie films on there, and I'm just kind of going through them one at a time while I'm working, and I came upon this one called Zombies of Mass Destruction, and I watched it. I really enjoyed its political satire. I mean, even the name has a context to the George W. Bush.
It does, yeah. I noticed that.
Administration, and then you watch the film, and the zombies are secondary in it. They're just a plot device. The real story is about how this small town in America begins to break down, and all its prejudices come out. Because that's what they go to when they're being attacked by zombies. They start attacking each other.
Yeah, exactly. I watched the movie as well, and I thought it was great. I was laughing almost the entire time. I thought the satire was great. It had a wonderful mix of comedy and horror. It was... I highly recommend it.
Right. So doing what I do, this is what I've always done. I just went online and I found the director and one of the screenwriters' names and went and found his website and got in contact, and he agreed to come on the show. Yeah. But his name is Kevin Hamedani. He began his filmmaking career with the feature ZMD, Zombies of Mass Destruction, produced by Academy Award nominee John Cena. The film went to receive critical acclaim, showing in film festivals worldwide. It was then acquired by Lionsgate and premiered theatrically in January 2010. His second feature, Junk, won the Audience Award at the Austin Film Festival and stars Brett Dervin, Jake Johnson, and James Hong from Blade Runner, with music by OK Go. His last script, The Saviors, was selected on the 2017 Blacklist. Production company Red Hour is producing with Kevin directing, and he's here with us. Hello, Kevin.
Hello, fellas.
How are you today?
Good, how are you?
Oh, we're doing good.
We're good, yeah.
Yeah, we're doing good. I'm really enjoying, it's finally cold out here. You're in California, right?
Yes, I'm in Los Angeles, and let me just say thank you for that lovely intro. That was very flattering. I appreciate it. Being in LA, you don't really hear much flattery, so...
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that in the indie writing community, too.
My buddy just got back from LA. He was out there for a week, and he said his sister is in the movie business out there. Mm-hmm. She just worked on Battle of Lefty Brown and stuff, so she has a lot of industry contacts. Yeah. So he was hanging out with a lot of them. So he was like, tell me all these stories. Like, it's so much different than, back here.
Yeah. But thank you for joining us on episode 100. So you did Zombies of Mass Destruction, premiered at the Film Fest DC, and is screened at the Seattle International Film Festival. It premiered on January 29th at the NYC Zombie Village Crawl, and the DVD was released on March 23rd, 2010 in the United States. It's just incredible.
I'd like to know, what inspired you to create Zombies of Mass Destruction?
Oh, boy. Geez, going back. Let's see. So that was around 2009. It came out 10. So it was basically when the Iraq War started. When 9/11 happened and the Iraq War, I'm Persian American, first generation Iranian American, and I honestly just thought of myself as a typical white kid in Seattle, Washington, because I just grew up very Americanized, grew up on Simpsons and Seinfeld and
yeah.
Then all of a sudden I realized I wasn't, because I was a brown dude when people who I grew up with stopped talking to me and all that because of the whole xenophobic wave post 9/11 and then furthermore Iraq War. So I just sort of, I created the character Frida. The main character is sort of like a representation of me and dealing with xenophobia, and I'm a big horror nerd, so how do I mix those together? And then it just sort of clicked one day. I was like, well, I don't want to make a movie about vampires or werewolves or ghosts. I don't want my monster to have a personality. This is about human beings. So the zombies just sort of made sense to me, and it trapped these human beings in a house, and then we can enjoy our racial tension. So that's where it started from.
I thought it was amazing how you mixed, especially that scene with Frida. She's in the chair and she's being harassed and she's being interrogated by asking her all of these patriotic questions, The
classic redneck stereotype, himself. And she's, what was it? What color is your passport?
Yeah. Everything.
And no matter what she says, she's never going to get it right.
Right.
And I think, I think that was really important because it was guilty until proven guilty.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
It was an incredible film, and Frida was played by Jeanette Armand. Tom Hunt was played by Doug Fall. Cooper Hopkins as Lance Murphy. Where did you find these people at?
Well, so Cooper Hopkins was my fellow acting buddy in high school. And he starred in my first play I did in high school. And then we actually wrote it to be African American. In Seattle, there's just not a lot of black people, unfortunately. People talk about Seattle being very liberal and woke. I mean, it is in a way, but Seattle's also pretty conservative in the fact that there isn't a lot of color there. So we were getting up close to our deadline here of shooting, and Cooper came in and just sort of killed it. So we rewrote it for him. And the rest were just local theater actors who came into audition, all Seattle.
Wow.
Oh, I like that a lot. The way I like his style, the way he's talking is that he lets his art evolve to what's there.
Yes.
He didn't want to do a zombie movie. He wanted to do a movie about racial intolerance, and then he found the right antagonist for the movie. I like that a lot. I like the way he goes with the flow and mixes things in his environment into what he's doing.
Yeah.
Stepping away from your wonderful movie, how do you think zombie films have contributed to our culture?
It allows our culture to hide social and political issues underneath a genre. I don't know if it's contributed to progressing our culture in any way, as much as it's sort of a device that we use to discuss and question certain aspects of what's going on. Like a Night of the Living Dead during the civil rights movement. So you put a black protagonist with who appears to be a racist white guy, but the brilliance of that film is they never talk about racism, but that's the tension underlying the entire thing. And then, of course, you have the beautiful ending where they shoot the black hero and drag him out with hooks, which is just like one of the most amazing endings to horror films ever. And so, I think that was just a way to exercise probably Romero and all the other filmmakers' anger and stress of what's going on in the world. So that's how I see zombie films.
Yeah, and speaking of those zombie films, what would you say are the top 3 most important zombie films?
Or the best?
Yeah, well, you want important or best?
Let's do both.
Okay.
Top 3 important, top 3 best. Yeah.
So I'd say the important is Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, 28 Days Later.
Yeah, right. 28 Days Later. Excellent. So what are the best?
The best for me is Original Night. I also really love Day of the Dead.
Me too.
I guess Return of the Living Dead.
Yes.
There it is.
I was hoping you were going to say that's probably my favorite.
That's what got me into the whole thing.
Yeah.
Really great.
I love Night of the Living Dead, but Return is amazing.
I'm still quite fond of Diary of the Dead.
I like that too. It's great.
Yeah, Diary
I love them all, man.
Yeah.
They all have something different to offer.
We're going to play a ghost story that I've been researching in Philadelphia called Ghosts Like a Cheesesteak Too. Little thing about a cemetery in Philadelphia. And we'll be right back on What Are You Afraid of? Horror and Paranormal Show on Parax Radio at Friday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It could be EDT. I'm not sure. My wife freaks me out. Quantum physics messes with my head. And we're also on all major podcast services. And check out more information about Kevin and his films, plus information about links and other ghost stories in our archive at www.whatareyouafraidofpodcast.com. And we'll be right back with Kevin.
What are you afraid of?
Hi, I'm Tim Wagner, Bram Stoker award-winning author.
Hashtag Grave Girls. This is Katrina Weidman of Destination America's Paranormal Lockdown.
This is Jim Chambers. I'm the author of The Engines of Sacrifice.
This is Jasper Barr, award-winning author of The Final Cut.
And you're listening to What Are You Afraid of?
What Are You Afraid of?
To What Are You Afraid of?
What are you afraid of?
Love it. Fantoxic, please. Fantoxic.
The Hungry Ghosts of Philadelphia. Researched and written by T. Fox Dunham. Read by Phil Thomas. Philadelphia, 1980 and 1996. Researched from online sources. The Cemetery blog of Ed Snyder, Haunted Philadelphia by Darcy Ort, and the author's own experiences. Do ghosts leave a graveyard even though their former remains do? Once you bury bodies into the earth, does it poison the land, filling it with sadness and mourning? Humans bury our dead, but this can require a lot of valuable real estate, especially as cities develop and grow, always looking for room to expand. The dead won't really notice if we move them from their rightful burial place. Or will they? And do the dead get hungry? By 1946, Philadelphia's Lafayette Cemetery was over a century old and had fallen apart, like most of our older cemeteries. As the families die off or move away, there is no one left to tend to the dead, and they seem to get uppity, being forgotten. Finally, the city of Philadelphia didn't want to be burdened with its upkeep, so they condemned it, planning to sell off the land. They hired Thomas Morse to dig up and move the remains of the 47,000 people buried there, then turned a blind eye, not interested in the deceased. Mr. Morse made great promises. He planned to move the bodies to a field in Ben Salem and vowed to give each body a bronze marker. He dug up the bodies, moved them, and no one cared where they went, as long as they could use the land. As far as anyone knew, he finished this morbid task and was paid well for it. Many of the bodies were buried in a site across from Macy's, but not all of them. Thomas then made a fortune from selling off the land, and the city built a playground on the site. Then, during the 1980s, several bodies were discovered in Ben Salem, dumped into a trench. Other bodies popped up in various places. 32 bodies were found dumped in a trench. Nobody knows what happened to the rest of the dead, if they were even moved. A plaque was placed in the field where some of the bodies had been moved to, but in all probability they are still buried in their original location, beneath a child's playground. And the ghosts still roam. Cemetery enthusiast Ed Snyder went to the famous Geno's cheesesteaks for one of Philly's delicacies with his son. As they sat on a bench, enjoying the smell of frying onions and beef, a transparent man approached them across the street. Blood smeared his clothing, which appeared to be from the 20th century. They watched as he sat down on the bench, hung out for 10 minutes, then vanished back into the misty ground at the playground. No one else saw the man. This reminds me of an incident that happened to me while I was undergoing radiation treatment at the University of the Hospital of Pennsylvania in 1996. We used to park across the street at the Penn Tower Hotel, and I enjoy a cappuccino after every treatment, the only food I was able to put into my system for several months, as my throat swelled from the radiation. While I walked into the lobby, by a piano bar, heading for the coffee place, I spotted an old man walking out from the hall and over to the closest bar. He sat down and lifted his hand as if ordering a drink. I looked away briefly, and in a moment he was gone. I suppose ghosts, longer able to eat corporeal food, still hunger for food and drink as they did in life. How frustrated they must be. Oh, and have you seen the Ghost Bus of Philadelphia yet?
Mercy, a new horror medical thriller from author T. Fox Dunham, published by Bloodbound Books. Based on the author's horrific battle with a rare form of lymphoma that involved intense chemotherapy and radiation, Fox turns the horror of his experience into terror on the page.
William Saint is dying of cancer. On most days, death seems like a humane alternative to the treatment. Stricken with fever, William is rushed to Mercy, notorious as a place to send the sickest of the poor and uninsured to be forgotten, and finds the hospital in even worse condition than his previous visit.
Willie's memories faded. He grabbed his the sack head of the scarecrow, picking at the exposed chicken wire to hold them in. However, the memories fell out of the holes in his face. They wormed and crawled from the leather flesh and the old clothing of the scarecrow, then squirmed and wiggled down his body.
The grounds are unkempt, the foundation is cracking, and like the wild mushrooms sprouting from the fissures of decay around it, something is growing inside the hospital. Something dark.
Fangoria gives Mercy 3.5 out of 4 skulls. Dunham has channeled his many brushes with the other side into the exquisitely rendered, lyrical, supernatural hospital thriller Mercy.
It's feeding on the sickness and sustaining itself on the staff, changing them, and now it wants Willie.
Come now, Mr. Saint. Just a little more of that sweet milk. So salty and so good. You won't miss it. And we ever do so like our delicacies here at Mercy Hospital.
Part medical horror, part supernatural suspense, Mercy is a hard-hitting fever dream of a novel. I enjoyed the hell out of it. Tim Wagner, author of The Way of All Flesh and Eat the Night. Available from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and bookstores everywhere in both print and digital versions.
Life is an addiction.
Let go. Let it all burn.
There are things that are unexplained. Things that linger along the edges of reality. Often, they leave trails to follow, many of which lead to darkened rooms and stairways that can take you, if you dare, only to one place. The Basement Files.
So we're back with Kevin. That was a cool little ghost story.
It was. No,
yeah.
I hope ghosts are actually enjoying their cheesesteaks on the other side.
Darcy Orr had researched that. I found out some other people who had researched, and I wrote up a little story based on that. Of course, we always like to put a ghost story in on every episode. On episode 100, Zombies Strike Back, and we're talking about our favorite horror monster and protagonist and antagonist in horror films. That's the zombies. We're back with Kevin Hamedani. So, Kevin, from start to finish, what was the process like filming Zombies of Mass Destruction?
I guess it was serendipitous in a few ways. We needed a small town, but we didn't have a big budget, and the producer and I were driving around Port Townsend in Washington State when we got lost and came across this small little weird town with one street called Port Gamble. And it just looked surreal. If you remember the film, it just looks like a movie set. Turns out it's owned by a corporation, and they use it a lot for commercials, and it's just a weird little town. And they were looking to get in the film business, so they said as long as you change the name of the town in the film to Port Gamble and then make a little documentary, speaking of ghosts, about their ghost sightings. They have a ghost tour. They're known for their ghosts. So I said, no problem. So we shot the film there for about 3-4 weeks, blew up car and trashed the streets, did whatever we wanted because essentially we were renting out the town.
Yeah.
After that, I went back a few months later and just interviewed some locals about the ghosts, and that was the deal. My first film, I was like 24 maybe when I was on set, 25. I did like one PA job before that, so it was basically film school. Yeah. And I surrounded myself with a bunch of AFI grads so that they could teach me how to direct as I was directing. And so it was quite a learning experience, and it was great.
I'm sure. I mean, being actually on a set doing it is the best teacher.
Yeah, that's your thing.
Yeah, and you really learn. It's like it's trial by fire, just jumping right into it. The town itself, it reminded me of Blair's Town, actually, from the original Friday the 13th with that one road. It just I've actually been there, and it just reminded me immediately of it.
Well, it definitely symbolizes the small town, dead end American isolation on an island feeling.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
And you get that isolated feeling that's so important in horror movies.
Yeah.
Like you're trapped with the bridge washed out.
Yeah.
And the ghost is haunting you.
Immediately felt it. Yeah.
That's very important for atmosphere. Let me ask you, is that documentary available somewhere on the Ghost Stories?
I don't know, actually. I gave it to the town, and they either put it on their site, Port Gamble, maybe it's on their site. I'm not sure, actually, what happened to
We can check that out. Maybe it might be on there.
Yeah, we'll go see if we can find it on the website.
Yeah, it might be online somewhere.
I'd like to get that up.
Yeah. So what makes this an American zombie movie? And what social issues were you trying to show in the movie?
Well, it's an American zombie movie because it's about America and during that time, during the Bush administration. And it's dealing with, which is even more prevalent today, ironically. If I'd be better by now, but it's dealing with fear and paranoia of the other, and that seems to be an ongoing issue with our culture. So that's how I see it as an American film.
Absolutely.
Have you seen the Philip K. Dick's Dreams on Amazon Prime Film? Or
I have it on my queue, but I have not seen it.
There's a particular episode that makes me think of that, where this single politician, they elect one politician, they have a single party. And she's calling for the ostracizing of the other. And she never says what the other is.
Okay.
You just know it when you see it.
Okay.
Have you seen that, Kevin?
No, I have not. Sounds pretty interesting, actually.
I'll send you over the name later. And it was really quite good. And, of course, very classic Philip K. Dick, very scary stuff. What are you working on now, Kevin?
We're in soft prep on my third feature called The Saviors. It's produced by Red Hour. We set it up earlier this year. And we're casting right now. So that's where we're at. I wrote the script. The script catches a little bit of momentum. It went around town and meetings all over town.
Wow, so God, this is exciting for you. It sounds like all your dreams are coming true.
Knock on wood, man. It's definitely the biggest project I've been involved with. That's for sure, yeah.
Here's an interesting little tidbit for you, Phil. You know my book, Destroying the Tangible Illusion of Reality, or Searching for Andy Kaufman?
Yes.
Which is about my battle with cancer, and about Andy Kaufman's battle with cancer, and the crazy road trip they go on. In fact, I was reading about Junk. It reminded me a bit of Junk, because Junk sounds like it was a crazy sort of road trip film about these two guys who set off on a dream to make a movie. And, we've got the website up at www.whatayouafraidofpodcast.com, and we were at Fort Mifflin last weekend.
Yeah, we were.
To do with the reading. Wonderful reading, by the way. And we'll be playing those readings on the show over the next several episodes from the PA authors that were there in Philadelphia. I get this weird message on that particular page, not on my Facebook page or website, but the What Are You Afraid Of page. And it says, "Thank you for proving my point." And it's from Andy Kaufman character Tony Clifton, which is played by Bob Zamuda anymore. Of course, he won't admit it. And then I traced the link back to Tony Clifton's site, which is actually a front page for Bob Zamuda's new book about Andy. So I'm pretty sure Bob got drunk at like 1 a.m. and left me a message. I've apparently proved his point. I don't know what point that is. Maybe about Andy's death or something.
Maybe you should ask him. I don't know. Prove my point.
But I know he knew about the book because we had contacted him, and Lynn had a book, and we sent copies to Andy's surviving relatives. But weird, crazy little thing.
Yeah. I mean, could you tell us anything about the new film? Anything else you'd like to share about it?
I would say it's probably the cousin of Zombies of Mass Destruction. It's a bigger version, more a science fiction version, where I take a genre, in this case thriller, sci-fi, and I mix it into a story. Basically, in a nutshell, a liberal couple who is sort of on the verge of divorce, mainly because the husband is out of work. They turn their garage into an Airbnb to make some money, and their first guests are these Muslim immigrants.
Okay.
And slowly they start to realize that these immigrants have this really odd activity at night, and they start to think that they might be terrorists. Of course, they don't think that way because they're liberal, but ironically, their paranoia over their guests causes their relationship to come back together, and they fall back in love. So it's sort of a twisted, dark comedy thriller.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I'm definitely going to check that out. I love that he's using satire for political issues because, we don't have philosophers in America. We have comedians.
Yeah, we do.
And that's where we get a lot of our knowledge from, is movies and comedians who talk about political issues. In fact, we know that because The Daily Show is like the top way Americans get their political.
It is. It's funny like that.
Well, this is incredible. So we'll pause here with Kevin Hamedani, and I did a little zombie piece, which I dug up. I sent it up to a market, and the market accepted it, and then, of course, went under. And this is the story in indie horror.
Right.
But it's set during World War II, and it's a little zombie historical piece called The Return Home to Seagaia. And we'll play that for you on What Are You Afraid of? Horror and Paranormal Show on Parax Radio at 9 p.m. ED time, sometimes EST time. Thank you, Allison. And also on all major podcast services, and you can find us at www.whatayouafraidofpodcast.com. The dead demand to be heard, and on What Are You Afraid of? Horror and Paranormal Show, Philadelphia's horror home, we listen.
New, true ghost stories every episode. Interviews with paranormal investigators. There is no supernatural.
The natural world is just far greater than we can perceive. More information and expanded content at www.whatayouafraidofpodcast.com.
And follow us on Twitter at PFWhatAfraidOf. Find us on all major podcast services, including iTunes, Google Play, and Spotify, iHeartRadio, or listen to us Fridays at 9 p.m. on the Parax Radio Network.
I'm horror author T. Fox Dunham.
I'm horror author and filmmaker Phil Thomas.
So what are you afraid of?
If you like what you hear, leave us a review on your preferred podcast service.
What Are You Afraid of? Horror and Paranormal Show. Speak to the Dead.
This Halloween.
Parax.
The Return Home to Seagaia. A new zombie fiction, not published before, by T. Fox Dunham. Set in the Pacific Theater during World War II. Do any of them ever make it to the beach? Seldom. Sometimes bones wash up in the tide, white with the foam. If their corpses survive intact after collision, sharks will pick them up on the journey home to Seagaia, the city of beaches, of white sands now mutilated by iron crosses, spikes, and bamboo staffs. Young Hero dropped machine gun belts to the Nippon soldiers, mostly old men and boys not over 16 like himself, too young yet to be inducted into the Imperial Army, to fight in Manchukuo, to push off the barbarian invaders in Okinawa. The Americans pushed ever closer, violating the sacred homeland. When they landed on the home island, they would all be called to fight. His captain surveyed the surf with his lone eye, his right orb lost when the American gangsters burned Tokyo. All ash, his parents all ash. My brother was Tokotai. He did his duty for the emperor and his country, Captain Tsuko said. He studied the visage of the surf, watching for the water to break. We were told his plane struck at U.S. carrier the Bunker Hill. It did not sink. My parents were burned in Tokyo. All noble sacrifices for the emperor. He died a warrior. He died for nothing, Hero thought, then admonished himself again for the defeatist thinking. Why do they come back? He asked. The captain surveyed the wall of soldiers, checking the machine guns, handing out belts and clips. He held his katana at the ready, leading this ragtag group of misfits, the last of the best of Japan to live, fight, and die for his emperor, the living god. Perhaps one or two of the dead kamikaze pilots might make it to the beach, having survived the ravenous oceans with working limbs. However, the kamikaze had flown in full flock to attack the U.S. Navy at Okinawa, flying and dying in numbers greater than any previous assault. None could be allowed to transgress Japan's skin, violating her body with noisome, rotting flesh. And shame, the captain said, for not sinking their targets, and not serving the Emperor, the shame of all soldiers for failing to repel the invaders. My brother did his duty, Hero snapped. Yes, and if he makes it home, he will come home insane, driven by demons. Now take your position. Wait until they cross the line of shells. Some don't always make it further. Let them wash away into the sea. The soldiers silenced, surveying the sea. Hero focused on a conch shell, just at the breakwater as the foam licked the soft sand. Noise and breeze blew off the sea, gagging him first. He recognized the odor, the stench of the burned and rotted flesh, bodies buried beneath buildings in Tokyo, charred and putrefying. He dug for the day after the fires calmed, digging for the bodies of his parents. He'd found his mother's body, blackened and petrified, bent in a circle, and he buried her in the yard. Divine stench, Hero commented. Steady, said the captain. He watched his view, studying the ocean. The smooth waves simultaneously broke further out beyond the beach. The green waters ruptured, and at first, the smooth inshorn heads rose, wobbling unsteady. Hold! The captain held his blade in the air, suspending the first enfilade. The sons of Japan, noble pilots who made the bravest sacrifice, climbed from the sea. Several of the bodies wore shredded uniforms, stained sepia and tangled in kelp. Some missed limbs, arms, and legs. White skull exposed through melted skin. Fish still trailed behind, devouring flesh tendrils torn away. Sharks swarmed the waters, still picking at the pilots. Not one blasphemous toe on the land! He swung his sword, ordering the attack. Bullets ripped to the air, slicing along the surface of the beach and assaulting the returned dead. Hero held his trigger. He couldn't fire. He just wanted to come home. Some of the other soldiers also couldn't fire. You! Hero! Now! I think one of them. Is it? Rio. A starfish birthmark fanned out on his brother's neck since birth. He recognized some of the other pilots in Rio's squadron. His brother had made it home. Fire your weapon, boy! The captain yelled. His brother appeared intact, still with all limbs. A chunk had been blown out of his shoulder and neck, but that was it. The sea exfoliated his skin to white sand, and flaps broke off, but Rio had come home to his brother. His captain ordered him to fire, aiming his blade. Hero released the machine gun, unburdened his soul, and got to his feet. He threw his cap into the sand. Return to your post! My brother! Shoot him! The order. Shoot him! The captain ordered. The other soldiers, the men and boys, the unfit, watched the scene of the return, most stunned now by the vision, too overwhelmed to keep firing. They saw their comrades beyond death in the full glory of Bushido. Hero held the rage engraved on their torn faces, the accusations of betrayal portrayed in their remaining eyes. No wonder the Imperial General Headquarters ordered the return to be held at the sea. They didn't want their shame to be seen. He ran to his brother with impunity. No soldier dare shoot him. He waded into the surf. Seagulls did blow, picking flesh morsels floating in the waves. He reached for his brother. Rio, you're safe now. His brother reached back, grabbing his shoulders, and embraced him. Then Rio's fingers dug into his bone, drilling into his back muscle, piercing until Hero screeched. Warm blood drenched his uniform. The return drove his teeth into the boy's neck and ripped away a piece of pink flesh, chewing into his neck and silencing his cries. Now, loyal soldiers of Japan, return them to the sea. Keep firing, and one day we will join them, climbing back to the shore, and none alive will be left to stop us.
Explore the darkness.
Find out what goes bump in the night. Did you hear that?
Did you see that? What's that bright light in the sky? Oh, we so need to investigate.
Calling all witches and sensitives.
Explore the paranormal.
With host
Shauna
and Vicky
from Geeks Paranormal.
Wednesdays
at 9 Eastern,
8 Central.
Let's explore. On paraxradio.com.
Caliburn Press, LLC is a Madison, Wisconsin-based publishing company owned and operated by Alan Ledden. Caliburn works with talented writers, artists, editors, and marketers throughout the United States, and you can find their books through their many imprints that include Damnation Books, Eternal Press, Malaferia Press, Ciento Sordida Publishing, and Spiro Publishing. Please visit their website at sites.google.com/site/Caliburn Press LLC/home, or Google Caliburn Press to check out their growing list of titles on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and any other place fine books are sold.
You're listening to the Electronic Media Collective Podcast Network. Yeah, it's a mouthful. For more great shows, visit electronicmediacollective.com.
Are you haunted by shadow people in the middle of the night?
Do you secretly love all things creepy and spooky, enjoying ghost stories and horror fiction from the best storytellers?
Do you have a true ghost experience you want to share, but no one will believe you?
If yes, listen to the professionals on What Are You Afraid of? Horror Paranormal Show, Friday nights at 9 p.m. on Para X Radio and at www.whatareyouafraidofpodcast.com.
What are you afraid of on Para X?
Our creepy and demented hosts are on call to provide you with all your spooky needs with true ghost stories, interviews, indie music, and new horror fiction.
We are ready to scare you.
Para X.
Halloween is coming. Halloween is coming. Halloween.
We're back with Kevin Hamedani on episode 100, Zombies Strike Back. We say that because there was such a mass piling on of zombie stories and zombie movies there. Like from 2005 onward.
Yeah.
It got so crazy and everything was zombie.
Where do you think it originated? Land of the Dead, you think it started
Yeah, Land
there?
of the Dead, then the remake
the
of Dawn.
Resurgence?
Yeah. In indie horror, zombie books, zombie anthologies were pretty much launched a lot of small publishers during that craze.
Brian Keene, The Rising.
Yeah, Brian Keene did Horizon. And,
the Rising, and he did Ghoul, which is not really a zombie, but it's close. And of course, Walking Dead.
Walking Dead came out. It's still hanging.
It's still going. It's not going anywhere.
It ain't dying.
It ain't dying. No pun intended, right?
Nowadays, you can't sell a zombie story anywhere. It's very difficult to get out there and find a market. Every once in a while, I'll see one, and I'll just stop whatever I'm doing and jump on it. So, Kevin, what did everyone say to you when you said you wanted to do a zombie film? Did they encourage you? Did they say zombies were overdone?
Well, I was making a movie in Seattle, and that's a very arty, uppity town in the film community. I don't know if it still is, but, you had the Lynn Sheltons, and you had the Megan Griffiths making very human dramas. The Mumblecore era was starting to kick in, the Mark Duplass films. And I was in the mix of that, sharing the same crew because it's such a small community. And I was the only one sort of making a weird little genre film. And when I sort of announced it, I kind of got a lot of eye rolls and people really didn't take it too seriously in my community. I think when mine came out, it was around time Zombieland was out. So we sort of rode that nice wave.
Phil, you really like the special effects.
I loved the special effects. Yeah, I thought they were very well done, and I liked the fact that they were practical.
Yeah,
I didn't really see any CGI, and if there was, I didn't notice.
I'm a big practical old school fan.
Yeah,
so got this great guy Tom Devlin, 1313 Effects. Any filmmakers out there listening, they need an effects guy. Go to Tom Devlin, 1313 Effects. He's great.
We'll put up some contact information on that. And in fact, I might get in touch with Tom and see if he'd do a written interview for us.
That'd be cool.
Good. He's done a lot of films. So.
That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, he did a great job. I mean, I'm totally on board whenever I see practical effects. I mean, the second I started seeing it, I was like, yes.
I knew you'd like it when I saw it. I'm like, Phil's got to see this.
Yeah. So what advice would you give to new filmmakers joining the field?
Fuck, man. I get you have to just keep producing, keep writing. Don't give up if the script's not working. Just keep going. Make short films if you don't have the money for a feature. Just keep producing, or else no one's going to really. It doesn't come to you. Right. You have to even when you make a film that sells and goes in theaters, or you get 4-star review from Variety, whatever it's the case, you still have to keep making your own stuff.
I've noticed a lot of filmmakers, they do that. They'll make a movie, and then I'll take a look and I'll see, oh, well, they haven't done anything else in 10 years, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And, but like you were saying, you know, it is important, you know, just keep producing content.
Right.
You know, and that's, I think that rings true with everything in the arts.
Right. And the same thing with writing. It's that you're only as good as your next,
as your
next story.
Yeah.
And they forget you so fast.
Right. Yeah.
If you're not publishing, they just move on.
Right.
And that's it. We were talking to Trish P.D. Kasak about that at the Fort Mifflin reading event. Mm-hmm. You had fun at Fort Mifflin, Phil?
It was great. I had a great time.
Yeah. Casement 5, the most haunted casement of the most haunted oldest American site.
It really was. Yeah.
Yeah. And we had some good readings.
Oh, yeah. We had a great time.
And then the ghost hunt was great that night. It didn't get rained out.
Yeah, I didn't make the ghost hunt.
Oh, it's okay. We just kind of hung out and interviewed people.
So, yeah, I was going to ask you what happened during the ghost
hunt. A lot of people got EVPs.
Okay.
You know, things reaching out. The EVPs are very popular with amateur ghost hunters because they have their phones and they have recording EVP apps on there, so they go around. And we just kind of talked to people who had gathered EVPs in various parts, like the blacksmith shop or in the casements.
Right.
It's just fun being there.
Did you touch the blacksmith's hammers?
I'm a married man,
Phil.
Oh, no, you met... Oh, no. No, I didn't touch them. I didn't get out there.
There's that legend, if you remember, where you're not supposed to touch the
blacksmith's hammer.
Tools, because, you know, they're cursed or something like that.
And they move on their own.
They supposedly move on their own, yes.
And it's just so spooky and dark out there, of course, until the airplanes fly overhead.
You know, like, I think it would be a little creepier if every 10 minutes, or actually 5 minutes, we weren't interrupted by an overhead airplane that, like, so close, it looks like you can reach out and touch it.
Yeah, we just said, oh, it's a Banshee.
Yeah. Oh, no, the Banshee's flying overhead.
So we're on with Kevin Hamedani. Kevin, I noticed Russell Hodgkinson was in the film, and he, of course, is on
Z Nation.
Z Nation. How did he get involved in the project?
He just came in to audition.
Did he really?
Yeah, this is before Z Nation. He was just a theater actor, one of the top theater actors in Seattle, for sure. And I was honored, blessed that he came in. He's so good.
Oh, he was incredible.
Yeah.
You know, have you seen Z Nation, Phil?
I have not.
That's another fun zombie series.
I'll have to check that
on
out.
Sci-Fi Channel. Yeah, I really enjoy Z Nation. So, Kevin, it sounds like you're steering away from horror a little bit, at least genre horror. You're definitely getting in some of the political satire and the political commentary, and definitely the horror and real life issues. What scared you as a kid?
A lot of stuff. I had an older brother, so he showed me stuff that really freaked me out. The original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, big one for me. I still think that's maybe the best horror film ever made.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's a beautiful piece of work.
When you watch it with a little more mature eyes, you realize just how incredibly done it was.
Yeah.
Especially for its time.
Yeah, and it's horrific.
It's nothing like
horror films should be horrific, and most aren't, and that one actually does its job, right? I would say that, and then Pet Sematary as a kid, the Zelda sequence really...
that got me.
Yep.
So those two come to mind when I think about my childhood.
Horrific.
Yeah.
We're kind of coming back to, we're doing a lot of ghost stories now. The new Haunting of Hill House is on Netflix. Have you seen it, Phil?
It's funny, because I was literally just about to mention that.
Kevin, have you seen Haunting of Hill House on Netflix?
No, but I really look forward to it. I love that director, and it sounds awesome.
I'm enjoying the scary parts.
Yeah.
But when you take a book like that, like they did with American Gods on Showtime, they're taking this book and they want to juice it as much as they can. So they really stretch things out.
Right. Yeah.
So you've got all these character backstories, you've got all these subplots going on, and they dole out the spooky.
Right.
And I'm really hoping it builds momentum.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, I actually read something online that it's a horror version of This Is Us, whatever that means.
I could see that.
Okay.
The kitten thing really got me. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
You know, I'll never look at kittens the same way.
God, right.
I love cats, but I'm going to be staying away from kittens from now on. So, Kevin, how do you like to celebrate Halloween?
I get a bunch of junk food, I get really high, and I eat a bunch of horror films. That's my way of celebrating Halloween. Yeah.
What's on the agenda for this year?
A mixture of classics and new stuff. I always have to watch Halloween, The Thing, all these classics that I watch every year. Creep Show, really cool stuff that I get excited for, even though I've seen them a million times.
Right.
I feel like I've got a quota to get through.
Yeah.
And it gets longer every year.
Yeah.
My quota every year pretty much expands by at least 5 movies every year. So it gets to the point where I start missing a lot of them. But, there's always some that I have to do. And there's some of the Halloween movies I have to do it because it's right in the title.
And I try to read at night. I like my demonic haunting books, which is where we end up finding half our guests. I read their books and then I go out after them. And I'm so busy on the show and doing the Fort Mifflin event and stuff, I just fall asleep after reading like 3 words. So I haven't read any scary books yet, but I kind of want to read Salem's Lot.
I've been reading This Is Halloween.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's a collection of short stories. Just finished watching on Hulu, actually, Light as a Feather. Pretty good.
You liked Light as a Feather?
I liked it. I watched every episode. I thought it was pretty good. It takes place on Halloween night. Well, the first episode does, and then it kind of shows the events that unfold afterwards. And I'm not going to give anything away, but it was good.
Kevin, how do you think Netflix, Hulu, these streaming services has changed the movie industry?
Completely changed it in every respect. Like, I used to just write screenplays, try to get films made. Now it's, can this be 8 hours? Can you pitch it as a show? Because that's what it is now. Binge watching long form shows like House on Haunted Hill or, Maniac or whatever. The goal is to get that over a film. Film has sort of taken a backseat to TV, and mainly because of Netflix and binge watching and whatnot.
Speaking of films on Amazon Prime, Territory 2 is out. Do you remember Kevin Kangas?
Yes.
He was on 2 years ago, I think.
Okay, yeah.
Kevin Kangas and his guys, they did Territory, which was a fun little vigneette of Maryland-based horror stories, and they just released the sequel.
Oh, nice.
We'll have links up for that at the website at
we'll check that out.
www.whatareyoufraidofpodcast.com. We should go watch and make sure to leave a comment for the guys, because they're out there in the trenches.
Yes, they are.
They're local filmmaking, local budget, local actors, and they're making art, and it's this wonderful home-brewed art that connects to you.
Yes. I love it.
So
got their chipping away.
Yeah, they're out there chipping. Exactly, they're out there chipping away.
They're doing their thing,
like we're trying to do.
That's right.
And you're almost done your next manuscript.
In fact, we're going to be shooting the rest of that short in about a week and a half.
Great. So we'll get that one that's done put up at the website.
Yeah,
with the other films.
Yeah, sure.
Kevin, what's your dream project?
I have something I wrote that is a true story based on the New Orleans axe murderer of the early 20th century. True story about a mysterious axe murderer in New Orleans who killed a bunch of residents and would mail letters to the local press saying he loves jazz music and tomorrow night everyone needs to be having a jazz band play in their house or he'll go and kill someone else. And so he sort of toyed with the town in that way, and it's juxtaposed with the politics of that era and whatnot. It's a really beautiful story that hasn't been touched yet, and so that's always been a dream project of mine.
The Axemen of New Orleans, from May 1918 to October 1919. I was down there in New Orleans a couple of years ago. And I'm sorry, they say Narlins. I say, we're in New Orleans. And they'd always go, Narlins, darling. It's Narlins.
Yep.
And I was down there with Max Booth over Perpetual Motion Machine Publishing for the Horror Writer Association Bram Stoker Awards down there. And we did a vampire ghost tour down in New Orleans, which was a lot of fun.
That sounds horrifying.
It was done at night.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, Kevin, do you believe in ghosts?
I think so. I think so. I've had some weird shit. There's something going on. Yeah.
Is that something that happened recently or a long time ago, or
weird shit?
Yeah, recently actually, when I was leaving my old apartment to move in with my fiance.
Okay.
We spent the last couple nights in my old apartment, and I hate it sounds corny, but we felt a presence. We woke up, we heard stuff started to turn on, and then sort of talked it off the weird occurrences, and then we were moving out. My dog would not step foot in that apartment, and as soon as we left, when we moved everything out, my dog stopped in the middle of the road and just started to piss blood.
Whoa. Oh my God.
Jeez.
I thought, oh my God, it's a health problem, whatever, but she was fine. It just felt like a scene out of Exorcist where the animal or the little kid senses something that you don't see and has a reaction to it. So It was bizarre.
Is the apartment old? Is there any history there that you uncovered?
I don't want to, attribute tragedy to my experience, but someone did commit suicide right below me, I think like a month before.
Oh, wow.
I always think about that. I've seen enough horror films and watched enough unsolved mysteries to try to put these dots together and form a narrative, and that's what I sort of thought of. I was out of there, you know?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Being a writer and director, but as a writer, is that something you started in your youth? Have you always been writing, or something you started, you got into films? And has it been specifically screenplays, or have you written other things traditionally too, like short stories?
Well, yeah, I've always been writing since I was a kid. I always knew this is what I was going to do. All that cliche stuff you probably hear from all your filmmaker guests. And when I couldn't make films, I would just make plays in middle school and high school. And then the digital age came while I was still in high school, which was great.
That's
so
great.
I was able to start making a movie and shorts and whatnot as soon as I got my hands on one of those cameras, yeah.
Yeah, Fox and I were lucky enough to have the analog age when we were in high school, so
yeah.
No digital age for us. So
yeah, there were no cell phones when we were in high school.
Yep.
It's pretty crazy. I'm a juror at the film festival, and I just looked at a bunch of student films. I mean, they look amazing with the technology that these kids have these days. It's pretty wild, you know. But if without a good story, it doesn't mean anything, you know. So
absolutely, the story needs to be there. Story first.
You know, it's funny. Like we wouldn't be able to do this show without good software and computers.
Right.
And I'm doing a series of podcast articles on how to do a good show because we didn't mention this. We were just named number 12 best horror podcast.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Out of 30 and then out of thousands.
Number 12 on BeatSpot's Top 30 Horror Podcast.
We finally got up there after 3 years and
that's
plus,
great. Congrats.
Thank you.
Plus 100. But it's like, you know, people go rent studios, they buy thousands of dollars of equipment, you know, and I appreciate the professional touch, but you can get the same effect just learning how to use Audacity.
That's right.
And all the features on there.
It's content, really.
Yeah, and content. It's like
you can have a $5,000 studio.
I have this, yeah.
If the content's not there, what does it matter?
And I use a lot of my connections to the Horror Writers Association to bring in guys. But it's like, you know, like our microphone, it's an H1.
Right.
You know, my father-in-law bought it for us to record our wedding in Scotland. And then it was just sitting around. And I thought to myself, you know what? I need to start promoting my books. We can do that by doing a weekly show.
Right.
And of course, we started out as a 4-part miniseries.
We did, yeah.
And 100 episodes later.
Yeah. Yeah, this was supposed to only last like a month, right?
And we've talked to some incredible people.
Yeah, it went from a month to 3 years.
Yeah, so I'm talking to Katrina Weidman, and she would like to come on in November when season 3 of Paranormal Lockdown.
Yeah, that'd be great, yeah.
Comes on, so she'll be
starting, right?
Yeah, exactly. So she's going to come on in November.
Great.
And I got some other leads going on, so we're going to have some great stuff. But we are almost at Halloween.
Oh, we're knocking on that door, baby.
Halloween right 2018.
Yes.
And Allison and I are planning to go out to Lancaster on the 27th to have a nice dinner out there and then go see the haunted houses out there.
Nice.
You know, good place to spend the fall. And of course, I'm decorating my shrine.
Right.
With gourds and leaves, and I'll be celebrating Samhain.
Yeah.
You know, when I survived cancer.
Right.
That weird, you know, 'cause I was dying, that lymphoma was killing me. I had 6 months of radiation every day, and then I was in the hospital. I remember the last thing I did was to run a Dungeons & Dragons campaign set in Ravenloft, the Gothic world, and I couldn't lift my head off the table. I was still DMing.
Oh.
Went to the hospital that night. I was in for 4 weeks. I died. They brought me back, and they let me out on Samhain.
That's right.
And that's when I survived. That's when things started getting better.
And that makes sense. That's such a special holiday. You know, and day in general for you.
So I celebrate Samhain. And of course, it's the cycle of the year. It's the day of death, the day of endings, and the cycle begins again, the day of harvest. And that's why we associate it with so many scary things.
I always like it when there's more time padding between where I'm at and where Halloween is, because the closer you get, the less time you've got. Okay,
yeah,
you know, it's exciting that the day's coming, but then once the day's over, it's only one day.
Yeah.
Once that day's over, we got November 1st, and as my friend says, he goes, "Hey Phil, you know what's good about November 1st?" I said, "What?" He goes, "Nothing. It's nothing at all." So I said, "Yeah."
Kevin, it's been incredible talking to you.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Do you have any websites you want to send our listeners to?
1313 Effects, my effects guy. You guys check out his stuff. He has a effects house in Nevada. You can see my movies on Amazon Prime, Hulu, iTunes, of course. Yeah, by all means, check out my films. Could use the extra few bucks for sure.
You can get Blu-rays, DVDs on Amazon, places like that.
Yep, that's right. Blu-ray and whatnot. You know, it's a bargain. I think there's commentary, or maybe not. I'm not sure, but
yeah, this has been the whole show. We couldn't remember his films. He can't remember there's commentary on the DVD. I love us.
I love us.
I think there's commentary on my second film, Junk. So anyway, it's a fun time. You should watch that one too.
But it's great. It's great that we can't remember half the stuff, but we're number 12.
That's right.
That's the best part.
That's the best part.
But Kevin, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been fantastic.
Absolutely.
And I'm so glad you responded to my email so that we could chat like this, and that you came on so quickly because we had a couple of scheduling changes at last minute.
Great. I appreciate it. I'm very, very glad that you guys helped plug my old films, and maybe we'll get some new eyes on it. So that'd be great.
Well, these projects take time. It's a marathon.
Yeah, came on our 100th episode, so it's a great time. Yeah.
We're going to end the show tonight with another song from the Zombie Dandies, their musical project from Normandy, France. They started in 2011 when two bored ghouls, Marty Dandy and K100 Zombie, woke up from their graves with the unlikely idea of creating a glam metal meets garage rock music project. Isn't that fun? We had a song of theirs on, and this is Zombie Mass Shooting. This has been episode 100.
100, Fox.
Zombies Strike Back on What Are You Afraid of Horror and Paranormal Show. Check out the website at www.whatayouafraidofpodcast.com for interviews. I just put up an article on how to write the modern ghost story that I did for the HWA Horror Association. And you can find links to Kevin and his movies, and plus all of our original episodes, our archive of ghost stories, interviews. It's cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, episode 100. We'll be back for 101.
Yeah, 101.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you guys. That was fun. Appreciate it.
I'm T. Fox Dunham.
And I'm Phil Thomas.
Some weird shit. There's something going on.
T. Fox Dunham lives in Philadelphia with his wife Allison. He's a lymphoma survivor, cancer patient, modern bard, and historian. His first book, The Street Martyr, was published by Gutter Books. A major motion picture based on the book is being produced by Throughline Films. Destroying the Tangible Illusion of Reality, or Searching for Andy Kaufman, a book about what it's like to be dying of cancer, was recently released from Perpetual Motion Machine Publishing, and Fox has a story in the next Stargate anthology from MGM and Fandemonium Books, Points of Origin. Fox is an active member of the Horror Writers Association, and he's had published hundreds of short stories and articles. His motto is Wrecking Civilization, one story at a time.
Phil Thomas is an author and screenwriter from the suburbs of Philadelphia. His screenplays have been produced into feature films False Face and Always from Darkness, and are available in major retailers such as Best Buy and Target, as well as availability on Netflix and Amazon On Demand. His short films can be viewed on his YouTube channel, Film Zero Presents. He is a member of the International Association of Professional Writers and Editors, and he currently writes for Cultured Vultures, Game Skinny, and BloodyDisgusting.com. His first novel, The Poe Predicament, is being published in 2018 by Caliburn Press.
Number 12 on BeatSpot's Top 30 Horror Podcast.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.